Everybody, welcome back to Pathways to Wealth. Today I have Andrew Thomas with us. Andrew, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, Chris, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So we met, like a couple weeks ago at Startup Grind in San Francisco, and your story is just really interesting, man. You had a successful Kickstarter campaign, and then you guys have launched into much bigger things. And your product, I was like just so blown away by, and I'm really interested in like the physical product space and how much easier it is for people to basically get funding through crowdfunding, right? That's kind of the path you guys went.
Yeah, absolutely. That was sort of our way to hack the startup model.
Yeah.
Being a startup in Orange County, California, we're not necessarily plugged in to the VC world in San Francisco and all of the angels. So when we thought about how we wanted to start the business, we looked at Indiegogo or crowdfunding as a way to get the money that we needed to launch our first prototype and the first product, and to do it from the community, which was pretty cool. So happy to get into that more. But for those who don't know, I started a company that makes a video doorbell. So you replace your old doorbell with our product, and it has a video camera, microphone, and a speaker. And when somebody presses the doorbell, we send a live video to your smartphone. So you can see who's at your door. You can speak with them and hear them. You can find out who it is before you open the door. Or if you're gone, you can see who's coming to your door, all from your smartphone. And the product's called SkyBell.
So how did you come up with that idea?
Well, we just got to talking about the doorbell. We were complaining. One of our co-founders was saying that she feels scared every time the doorbell rings. There's an emotion, a fear and anxiety of not knowing who it is.
Like who's there?
Exactly. Every time that doorbell rings, there's a voice inside the back of your mind that says, I wish I could know who's there. Like, who's there?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whether it's a salesperson or maybe it's somebody with bad intentions, you never know. But it's just nice to know.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that, and then a lot of travel in our group. So people were wondering, what happens at my home while I'm gone? Are people coming to my front door? Are they looking through my windows? What's happening? And then for me, it was more frustration around packages. So UPS would come to drop off a package. I'm not there to sign, and then I have to go down to the factory or the warehouse in 2 hours to get my package. So.
Yeah.
There were a lot of reasons, and then we looked, and there was nothing that existed that solved this problem. So we said, why can't we see who's at our door from our phones? Like, we have our phones on us all the time, and what a great product this would be. So, we always got our phones, got great video. FaceTime already works on iPhones, and video is so stable now. It's silly not to have this device. So we looked, no one had been doing it, so we just decided to go.
Beautiful, man. So how did you guys go from idea, concept to prototype and getting on Indiegogo? And then how did that campaign go for you guys?
It was pretty wild. So the idea we started coming up with in May, and then we founded the company in June, and then we launched the Indiegogo campaign in August. So it was just a number of months to go from this idea to starting the prototyping. We had to get to a prototype to have enough confidence to go on to Indiegogo and say, everybody, you should back us, and we are confident that A, that this will work, and then B, that we can deliver it to you as we promise. So that took a couple months. We launched the campaign in August of 2013. We wrapped it up in September. So it's a 30-day campaign. We raised $600,000 or just under $600,000 in that campaign.
Beautiful, man. So you said there's absolutely something here. This is something that people want.
Yeah. Crowdfunding is incredible. So you take your idea out, you make your Indiegogo page, you make your video, and you say, here's this video doorbell. You're going to be able to see who's at your door from your phone. And prior to that, when you speak with investors, they say you have no market traction. Right? You have no validation that your idea, customers even want your idea. You have no customers. You have no brand. There's no roadmap, no feedback. Well, you go on Indiegogo, you launch your campaign. In 30 days, we have 4,500 customers buying a product that doesn't even exist yet. So when people vote with their wallets, what is stronger than that?
Yeah.
So you've got this strong vote of confidence for the idea. You have 4,500 customers. You get the $600,000 that you need to make the product, or in our case, $600,000. And then The thing that we didn't expect was when we launched the campaign, we had an idea of what we wanted SkyBell to be. This video doorbell with a motion sensor and night vision, answer it on your door. And so we were very confident in our roadmap, but all of a sudden, droves of emails come in with comments. I got 1,000 emails in 30 days. So I just sit back in my chair and I've got my like spreadsheet going with all my list of features, and I'm just like, oh, all these people, they don't want this one. Crossing it off, right? That was an assumption that we made.
Yeah.
And then here's all these suggestions for new ideas that we didn't even have on our list. So I'm just checking off, scratching off, or adding. We made a product, from the people or for the people. I mean, it was.
So it wasn't just your idea where you're like,
us.
I think people would want A, B, and C, and then you spend years making that, and then you have to go back to the drawing board. It was like, well, here's what I assume, but let me actually just listen to what everybody wants and what they don't want, and then build around that.
Exactly.
That's amazing, man. I mean, it makes things so much faster and ultimately more profitable.
You're exactly right. It is a brilliant way to hack the process of starting a company. And people always talk about, lean startup and test and iterate. There's no better way to do that than, I believe, than crowdfunding. And Indiegogo, like you said, we made the product that people wanted the first time we made it.
Yeah.
Which was incredible.
Yeah. It's so amazing how, it used to be like first source of funding was like your own money, then friends, family, fools, and then angels and VCs. Now you've kind of got like just this incredible process and option in the middle of that where it's like, no, you don't have to give away a big chunk of your company up front at the idea stage. You can go improve the concept and then go back to investors and be like, hey, look what we got. We've actually got revenue before even we've produced anything.
It's exactly what happens. I mean, it's incredible. It's exactly right, Chris. So we go up, we speak to investors, and they say, here's, $500,000 for 30% of your company. Because you have no idea. You have no traction. You have nothing. Mm-hmm. You're just an idea. And instead, you go on Indiegogo, and then you come back to them and you say, 4,500 customers, 600,000 in funding. We raised more than you were going to give us from the people. Yeah. And it's pre-order. It's not, you're not raising money from this community. They are ordering your product. So it's technically pre-order. Mm-hmm. You don't give up any equity to your crowdfunding backers on Indiegogo or Kickstarter. So there is no dilution event during that process, which means all of the founders retain the equity that we were going to give the investor for that $500,000. Mm-hmm. And instead we come out the back with a far larger valuation, and for 30%, can get millions instead of $500,000. So it's a complete game changer for hacking the business startup model for a traditional like tech startup.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So like what happened after you guys did the month of, just under 600K and you're like, okay, this is great. We have the product. What was the next phase? Like whenever you actually built the product, how long did that take?
So we had started building the product during the campaign, just started making as much progress as we could. We shipped the first SkyBell 4 months after we ended the campaign.
Wow, man, that's a fast turnaround, isn't it?
It's phenomenally fast.
Yeah. What's the average, do you know? Like, does it take people a year or 6 months or?
I don't know of anybody who could make a video doorbell.
Well, I mean, like in general, just the products on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Do you know, are people known for like, okay, usually it takes a year to get a product, or I don't even know. I mean, I've bought stuff, but I have no clue on the timeline.
So I would say, speaking anecdotally, you're not going to get anything hardware-wise in less than a year. That's if you get it at all.
Right.
So
most of them fail, right? Like either don't get funding or never actually get the product.
That's right. Most of them, you never get the product. Of the ones you do, some of them don't work so well, but you're never getting them in 4 months. I mean, we had previous experience making consumer electronics, so that really helped us. We had a good manufacturer lined up. We had a good engineering team lined up and software. So that's how we moved quickly.
Okay.
So for 4 months it was crazy. It was just a madhouse.
So whenever you did the campaign, did you guys already have prototypes built, or were you guys still just like on the drawing board?
We had plastics made, so the plastics and the boards were kind of laid out. There was no intelligence in the device. So we needed to determine, and this is a great tip for anybody who's thinking about doing hardware, is you got to make sure that so you can design a product, and it can be designed, let's say, in method 1, which is just get the product to work. Step 2 or method 2 would be make sure it's you can mass manufacture it. So we needed to make sure that we could design a SkyBell, not just so that it worked, period, in the first bucket, but actually that it could be mass produced. So that's what we did before we got to Indiegogo. We made sure that when we put circuits and sensors on boards, and we can get camera modules, and it will all make sense. But you got to make sure that you can manufacture it so that your costs go down. You can't just make one-off batches forever. You have to have a product that can be run on a mass manufacturer level, so you can get the build of materials or the BOM down and make money on the product.
So how do you do that? How do you find, like, if somebody says, okay, I have an idea for a physical product, something in tech or something with hardware, where does somebody start to look for manufacturers or engineers, or go from idea phase to actually trying to create the thing?
It's extremely difficult. Makemyproduct.com.
There you go.
Yeah. I think if I didn't have any experience doing this before, I would just try to find people who have done it who are willing to share that information. Because if you go online and you search, for a contract manufacturer who would make the device, I don't know how confident I would be picking any number of the ones that popped up.
Yeah.
Engineering firms, I mean, the way we found a good one was by going through a lot of bad ones.
Okay.
So I think you got to try to find referral into somebody who can help you.
Yeah, because if you look online, if you pull up contract manufacturers in China, you're going to find a lot of sketchy stuff.
Yeah. Even
on Alibaba, I'm working with some guys here locally on an idea, and we're like, I don't know, maybe we should just license this. And Stephen Key, the author of One Big Idea, he's like, dude, I don't want to manufacture anything because it's such a pain in the ass. It's like a full-time job. Come up with the idea, get a patent or something, and then license it. So the fact that you actually did that process is really impressive.
Thank you. It is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. Hardware is extremely difficult. And, our product, the SkyBell, the connected video doorbell, falls into this really new, somewhat nascent category called the smart home, right? The Internet of Things. What's challenging about these devices is that you have a hardware product. So we have the mechanical engineering, the mass manufacturing, environmental, mechanical, electrical engineering. And then you have the software that goes in that device called firmware. So we have a firmware engineer who writes the software for the device. Then we have the cloud server, which is, ours is at AWS, connects everything. Then you have a mobile app. So you could have a startup whose entire business is any one of those 3 parts.
Yeah. But hardware, firmware, cloud, and app, right? Those are kind of the 4 major.
Exactly. 4 major parts.
Yeah.
We have to do all of them. IoT devices need all of these things. And it's really challenging to tie all of these formerly disparate parts into one cohesive product.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, the 4th little twist is that this product still has to exist in a physical world and achieve its physical job, which is, in our case, it still has to operate like a doorbell.
Yeah.
Our cell phones don't have that limitation, but the smart lights still need to be a light bulb.
Yeah.
They have that 4th real world usage that still has to happen. So when you talk about product and hardware, it's difficult to start with. With a product like SkyBell or these other smart home devices, it's difficult because you got to get all these parts working together seamlessly.
So how did you pull everybody together? You have these 4 components. Was it just through trial and error and reaching out? Or did you know okay, I know these are my 4 things. I already have connections. Or was it starting from zero with this thing?
Luckily, it wasn't starting from zero. So I'd imagine it's similar to, if someone said to you, how did you assemble all these parts? And you didn't just mash them up yesterday, right? This is a culmination of all of your different pursuits and experiences. So we had a hardware team that we had used on a previous product.
Okay.
It was a GPS tracker. So we had that team. We had our software team that made the apps. they had also worked with us a little bit on that previous project to making the app that tracked these devices and put them on a map, on your phone. So we had those parts together, and then the founding group had worked together on a prior startup as well. So we kind of knew each other. We were familiar enough with making a consumer electronic product to know what those demands would be. We knew the software side with the mobile apps, what that would be. The thing that needed a different or a new perspective was how, again, how all of these work together in a smart home sense, and what is the user experience around a video doorbell, right? How do we need it to work? You need a motion sensor for when people don't press the button, right? Not everybody who's at your front door is going to press the button to tell you that they're there. And it's unfortunate, but it's the case, right? So you want a motion sensor. You want to see it at night. Those are product level considerations you need to make ahead of time. But then there's also the how does this product, how is it going to work with a bigger picture of the smart home? So how do we start designing the server so that in a year from now, when Alexa comes out, Amazon Alexa, or the Works with Nest program that we're in, how do you structure your product so that eventually you can work and be compatible with these other products? So one thing that we did really well is we looked into the future and said, there will be a lot of connections between these products. We need to design SkyBell so that the Wi-Fi stays on all the time. And because the Wi-Fi stays on all the time, you can communicate with it. So from a user perspective, you can start the live video feed at any time from your app. You don't have to wait for somebody to press the button, or you don't have to wait for someone to trigger the motion sensor. So if you're gone on vacation,
so you can just turn it on and just check in and.
Right. So, you've traveled around the world, right? If you had a SkyBell during that time, at any point, you could just check in on your front door and just make sure everything's cool at your house. And, people aren't, people are having parties on your lawn.
That's cool, man. So the Internet of Things is like really interesting, right? Like this is everything in the physical world is becoming like, improved and connected and just, kind of pushed onto the cloud, I guess. Where do you see smart homes going? I think that's actually what you're here in South by Southwest speaking about, right?
Yes, yeah. So I'm here in Austin for South by. Our panel's on Monday, 3:30 at the convention center. We're talking about IoT, about the smart home. The title is are we on gadget overload? Because the market is booming right now, the Internet of Things, and everyone's trying to connect everything. Yeah. And a lot of commentary around our industry right now is this is all useless, or I can get up and press the light switch with my finger, or why do I need a Wi-Fi connected toaster? And we want to have a conversation that says, yeah, there is a lot of hype right now. There is a lot of products that aren't serving real needs, but instead of saying that our industry doesn't have relevance or meaning because there's superfluous sort of peripheral devices that don't matter, that doesn't make any sense. Like it actually furthers the emphasis that there's these opportunities to create meaningful user experiences, and that we shouldn't be distracted by these other ones that don't really make a difference. So when you look at what's selling well in our space, the video doorbell is selling well. It provides real security, do-it-yourself home security for $200. The thermostats are helping people save real money. Like there's real meaningful benefits. So we want to look and say, what is meaningful, what's not, what's the future hold, and what opportunities are there for people in this space. Nice. So to get back to your question, the last 2 years as a smart home product manufacturer, our goal has been to get SkyBell or the doorbell connected to the internet, connected to your phone. And that's what we've all been doing. So the fact that the thermostat was connected to the internet and connected to your phone was a victory. The last year has been, now we're starting to speak to each other, right? So I can speak to a Nest Cam, or SkyBell can connect with the Nest Cam, and when the Nest Cam turns on to record video inside your home, the SkyBell can automatically turn on and record video outside your home. So now all of our devices are speaking to each other and connecting, which is really a lot of progress. Like we're achieving this idea of the smart home. I think when you look at the next logical step, for me and for some others in our space, we see an opportunity for the smart home to start bleeding into the smart life, which is which is to say, how do services that come into the home, how can they be connected to the intelligence of the cloud and smart home platforms? So a good example of this is a platform called August Access. August makes a smart lock, and they now connect with like Airbnb. So when you go to your Airbnb home, you automatically get a code sent to your phone, and then you can access the home via this smart lock with this code on your phone. So you don't even need to be bothered, or the owner doesn't need to be bothered to come let you in. Or when there's deliveries to your home, it can give the delivery man a temporary code to unlock the door, deliver whatever they need to, and then leave again. So that's just one example, but how does the rest of our life tie into the smart home, and how can we use data and connections to allow the rest of our lives to be easier because of the smart home? I think that's sort of the problem we're going to solve in the future. So It was connect to the internet, connect to each other. Now it's connect to our lives, like connect to wearables.
Yeah.
Like connect, close the circle. That'll be the next, maybe 1 to 3 years.
Nice. So what's the next evolution for you guys as a company? I know, now that you're connected with Nest and all these other things, are you moving more into like security space, or what's the next step?
So that's what our angle is, home security. So we see an opportunity to, build a do-it-yourself home security offering. So someone can just say, I just want to secure my front door. So for $200, I can buy a SkyBell. I can know who's at my door. I can speak with them. I'm aware of what's happening when I'm gone. We see that as a good opportunity. So our goal is to sort of answer the question: what does home security look like in a smart world, in a connected world?
Yeah.
And I believe, and I'm inspired and motivated by this question, which is, why can't the things that keep us safe, also keep us connected? Why can't the same thing that keeps my family safe, why can't it also help me stay connected to my kids? So for example, one of the user stories we like is when kids are coming home from school, they press on the doorbell knowing that that's going to end up chiming their parent. So if they want to talk to
their home, and
let them know their home. Or one of our favorite stories is a user who said his favorite time of day is at 3:30 when his kindergartner comes home from school, and he presses the doorbell and he shows daddy like what he show and tell what he found at kindergarten, and tells him about his day for 5 minutes.
That's cool. So people are actually talking to each other through their doorbells now.
Exactly. It's like
awesome.
a daddy intercom, and this kid calls it the bat phone, and there's like a magic to it. And I think that's a really cool thing, that this idea that the thing that keeps you safe isn't just this robotic security system. It's actually very human, very real, loving sort of magic that happens at your front door. Like that kid probably thinks that it's magic that this thing works, right? So we want to have a sense of security, but a sense of connection and a sense of humanness in the smart home. So we'll continue exploring how to do that. And I think we had spoken earlier about our customer, right? So we had a customer in Paris, and she and her husband were on vacation, and a suspicious guy comes to their door. And they said, we can't allow this guy to know that we're gone. So through SkyBell, they say to the guy at the front door, we're cooking dinner, we can't come to the door. So he believes them, walks across the street, and robs their neighbor. And I thought that it was really good of us to prevent this first break-in, but it would be really, really cool if we could prevent all of the break-ins, not just the first one who had the SkyBell. So I see an opportunity to create entirely safer homes and neighborhoods with these connected home products that can give you sort of a do-it-yourself home security solution, but also connect it in a way that entire communities become safer.
So it's kind of like Neighborhood Watch 2.0.
Exactly.
Like making everybody connected. And yeah, because I guess that never really worked, right? The whole Neighborhood Watch, like you had some people that would kind of keep an eye on it, but if you are linked, everybody's linked on their phones. So if you have everybody with SkyBells and kind of linked on the same security network, it's like I think you said this earlier, if somebody's seeing something suspicious, you can kind of alert everybody, and then it just makes the whole neighborhood like way safer.
That's right. I think it's incredible to have this opportunity to say we can use connected products and mobile phones and automatic APIs to achieve a noble goal of really making neighborhoods safer and homes safer. And every time we get an email from a customer that says, thank you, you helped me prevent a break-in, it inspires you to keep going.
Yeah.
And we had a hard of hearing or deaf customer in Minnesota whose SkyBell alerted him of somebody breaking in his front door. And he's completely deaf. He cannot hear. He's in his living room. And he sent us an email. He said, this guy was breaking in my front door. SkyBell's motion sensor detected it. Sent me the video. I could see him. And I told him through the SkyBell app, you know, hey, I've got your photo. I'm seeing you. I'm calling the police. So the guy runs off.
Oh, wow.
And he emailed us and said, I'm completely deaf. This guy could have been in my living room, standing behind me before I knew about it.
Wow.
And there's a sense of you know, when you get your home broken into, there's the tangible adverse outcomes, which is stuff got stolen, stuff got damaged. But there's an emotional toll of I'm not safe anymore.
Yeah.
I'm vulnerable.
Somebody's violated my space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This sacred space, the space where my kids sleep and play and eat and where our home is. And the fact that we can prevent and keep that safe is incredible to me.
Yeah.
And to do that with one product, a video doorbell that connects to the internet, is pretty incredible. So that's always driving our motivation for how do we do more of this. And I hope that we can keep achieving it. And something like a digital neighborhood watch, I think, is an ambitious goal, but certainly one we want to achieve.
Nice. Cool. So, you know, going back to like, I know there's probably somebody watching this or listening to this on the podcast that's like, man, I've had this idea. I want to create something. Like, what advice would you give to somebody that's starting out? Like, you know, you're obviously really experienced with this and you put in a tremendous amount of work. Like, what's kind of step one? Like, should somebody reach out to manufacturers or engineers or both, or just like, where do you start if you're at like zero?
It's such a difficult question.
Give us the magic sauce, man.
Sometimes it feels like an art more than a science, and then sometimes it just feels like a bunch of serendipitous accidents that align together. But I think if you come up with an idea, the first thing that I would do is continue serving the idea. So do research on it, talk to people about it, create this space for it. And feed this idea. Make sure it's a good idea. The idea validation is extremely important, especially with hardware. You have to know that this is going to be a success. You cannot go and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in a product without knowing people want it. So I would say go do your research online. Everything starts online. Find out if the idea is out there. Even if it is out there, that's okay. Go find out if people like it. If they like it, find out what people do like about it. Find out what they don't. Like, nothing's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like, MySpace wasn't perfect. Facebook comes out. If Mark Zuckerberg said, well, Facebook exists, it wouldn't have gone so well, for him. So there's always opportunities, and someone's probably doing it with our video doorbell, with the SkyBell right now, which is why we're always, innovating and trying to stay ahead. So, research the idea. And then I really do believe that if you are a non-technical, non-engineering idea person, let's say, you need to find somebody who can do this. So you need to go into your networks and find the mechanical engineer, or find somebody who can at least give you some perspective on whether or not this is viable. There are so many good ideas that just aren't there yet.
When you mean viable, you mean like have the ability to actually manufacture it on a mass scale?
Yeah, or even to make. I mean, just to give you a sense of what's going to be involved, there's, with SkyBell, there's Wi-Fi modules, there's Bluetooth radios, video cameras, speaker, microphone. You got to get a sense for what's going to go into this thing.
Yeah.
If you're like, I want a video doorbell, it's not enough just to say that. Like, Joe is the engineering and inventor on this device that has the real engineering knowledge, and he can break down and say, okay, we're going to need these 100 components, so going in what it's going to take. So that's really important to do. I still think that Indiegogo and Kickstarter are the cheat sheet here. It's you can put your idea out there. Anybody can go make a compelling video, right, with an iPhone and an idea and say, I want to do this. I want to galvanize around this idea. I want to change the world by doing blank. and you get the feedback and see. And then, Indiegogo now has resources for manufacturing. They have resources for packaging. So if you're a successful campaign, and if SkyBell did it again, and I had no experience, Indiegogo can guide you through that.
Interesting. So they have connections and manufacturers that they know can come through on certain things.
They do. Nice. They're making those connections because they know that's a pain point, and they're trying to foster a community where real things happen. They're not just trying to say, like, here's this way to get money.
Yeah.
And that's why I like Indiegogo especially. And so they have connections with engineering firms in China and design houses in San Francisco and packaging, because you do have to be aware of all of those things. So another great thing is if you have an idea, go find somebody in the space that has done it and ask them for a lunch or a phone call, and keep asking them until they give it to you.
There you go.
Because eventually I will give somebody a half an hour if they keep asking me for it.
Yeah.
I absolutely do. And I spoke at Galvanize in San Francisco, a co-working space and an incubator. And one of the students out of 20 in that room just got it. And he asked me questions and he was on it. And so he said, can I, email you for questions? I said, absolutely. And he did. He followed up with me like that night, and he had his questions. I've already made 2 intros to him, for him, that will significantly help him make his hardware device.
Beautiful, man.
So
I love it.
Get after people for advice. I think the entrepreneur community especially, likes paying it forward. I love every opportunity that I can get to share information. Like you with this podcast, like it's unbelievable to know that you're helping people. If you can help a couple people, those people will help a couple people. Those people help a couple people. And it all helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. What's your background? Are you an engineer or what? Did you go to school? What's your background?
Yeah, I'm kind of a jack of all trades kind of guy.
Okay.
I was a finance major in college, but I had more fun in my computer classes. Instead of doing my finance homework, I would goof around on Photoshop all the time. And I graduated from USC in LA, which is why it's difficult to drink out of this cup here.
I was kind of wondering. I'm like, wait a minute, Cali guy coming over. Let's see if Nikki gives him the Texas cup.
Look at this, man. So I went to USC, but I tried to take a diverse set of classes. So I had neuroscience as my elective, art history. Okay. I took a lot of art history classes. It's interesting when you look at art history, it's a period of artists who period after period come and introduce a new concept, right? And at every time in art history, people thought that was it. So when Monet and Impressionism came, everyone's like, okay, well, what else can happen? That's it. And then Picasso comes and there's Cubism, and it just keeps going. And it's like business, right? There's always something else. We all thought we were done with social media and Web 2.0, and now we're connecting doorbells to the internet. Virtual reality, it always persists. So I think that a diverse set of curiosities is very important and has served me. So after graduating, I worked for Google for a year on their search team, but it was a remote job. I got to work from home, but I got bored, so I moved to China, and I did the job from China, and so I just wanted a new experience. I moved with my friend to China and lived in Shanghai for a year.
Nice.
I did my job for Google remotely.
Yeah.
And then I made websites for other Americans living and working in China. And I did that for a year, and that gave me a nice perspective on life. And then I went back to the States, did some web consulting, some SEO consulting, got into mobile, and then ultimately met this group that I started SkyBell in. So
okay.
I bring my role at SkyBell is the business development, the partnerships, and a lot of our vision around what the product needs to be and become so that users want it and other strategic partners want it. So for example, we just announced our partnership with Honeywell last Thursday.
Nice. Congrats, man. That's
huge.
Yeah.
Very proud of this. It's a big moment for us, but we needed to make sure that SkyBell would work and behave technically in such a way that a platform like Honeywell could add SkyBell to their platform, and it can work. So that's what I try to do with our team, and doing that task involves a lot of different things. Like, I know enough about engineering to know how saying I want a motion sensor will implicate the platform, but I have no idea how to put a motion sensor on a board.
Gotcha.
Right, but I know that a user is going to want it like this. So you can't be too siloed, I think, as a founder in only one area. It is good to feed your curiosity so that you can come at a problem from a lot of different angles.
Right.
Say, I know how a user is going to feel when they use this, and so that's what I bring to the table. I help shape our user experiences and help strategically guide us into a place where we're relevant for strategic partners and for users.
Nice. And how many other co-founders do you have? And I guess what are their specialties?
We have 4 other co-founders. So we're actually a big group.
Yeah.
And in that, you have people who are brilliant at ops. So one of our co-founders is just brilliant at ops. The other one's brilliant at hardware. He is responsible for making the SkyBell what it is. And our latest product, SkyBell HD, has a 1080p camera. It's got full color night vision. We were talking in the kitchen. It's like almost IP7 proof. I mean, it's so weatherproof. It's unbelievable. That's what Joe does phenomenally. And then another co-founder does our fundraising and some of our business development from a legal standpoint. He's an attorney, but he and I go in and we'll do the business deals with Honeywell. And then we have a CFO on the team as well. So people bring different skills, which is nice because we don't fight over each other's stuff because we don't want to do each other's things. So it works out pretty well for us.
That's cool. Yeah, I know a lot of founders that try to go it alone, and I think that's a mistake. I mean, a lot of the startups that I see that do well have at least 2. 5 is pretty rare, though, man.
5 is rare. Yeah. I don't know that I recommend 5. I mean, we make it work, but it's because we fight like family, and it just works for us.
Yeah. Have you guys known each other for a long time, or how did you meet?
We have.
Okay.
That's why, if there's disagreements, it's like family. You just fight, and then you make up. It's really good. There's always this mutual respect and this love. So it works for us. I think 2, 3 founders is a good mix. One, like you said, you have no one to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
You need another brain to come at a problem from a different standpoint. So
absolutely, divide and conquer.
That's right.
Yeah.
2 to 3, I think, is a good sweet spot, especially if you can get a technical founder in that 3. Then I think you're looking real good.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, man. So just a couple of quick rapid fire questions for you.
Yeah.
What do you have any mentors or anybody in the space that you think is anybody that wants to create a physical product should be following, or any books that is like required reading?
So for hardware,
hardware or just invention, or creating physical products in general.
The Investor's Dilemma is a book that's worth reading. As far as our space is concerned, I follow Tony Fidel and Matt Rogers at Nest.
Okay.
Nest Thermostat is the device that put this whole thing on the map. Study what they did. They took a thermostat and made it beautiful and elegant and smart. I mean, unbelievable. They did so well for themselves.
Yeah.
I derive a lot of inspiration from them. But my mentors actually are, they're diverse. So one of them is a gentleman, a guy at USC, alum of USC, who I knew in China. And when I was 22 in China, he was forward and he showed me the ropes and taught me a ton about factories and business and contracts and maneuvering. That was really helpful.
So you got it whenever you were over in China, that's where you started to learn about the manufacturing industry, and you got kind of a first row view of what that was like over there.
That's right.
Nice.
That's right. And at least the realism around doing business in China. The Chinese are wonderful resources and wonderful people, but doing business in China is very difficult.
Yeah.
And hearing Sean's stories about what has happened to him over 20 years, I mean, he's built these great businesses, but it wasn't easy. So hearing that gave me a real perspective on, like, not everything that you see on paper is going to happen. And sometimes it is good to plan for the bad that will happen. Like, I learned a sense of realism that I still have today, where you plan for the worst and hope for the best. Like, that has really been a good tenet. There's a great quote, "Only the paranoid survive." And it's true, I find, especially with making hardware.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you find like the biggest challenges are working with the Chinese? Are they like trying to rip off your ideas? Are they not honoring contracts? Like what's like the most common stuff you run into?
If you find a partner that is not, ethical and thinking long term, right? So there's great ones like Foxconn and PCH. They all have good resources in China. But if you're not working with those big entities, right, you have to find your own. And a lot of them will be fine. They'll start off great, but then over time they'll start sliding out some of your high quality products and putting in lower quality substances or materials, hoping you don't see it. They can shave, a couple of. I mean, if you're at volume and you can shave $1 off of a product, that's a lot of money.
Over tens or hundreds of thousands of units. It's a
lot of money. So you got to worry about materials, and then there's communication barrier, which is difficult. But for hardware specifically, I'll give you an example. So we didn't make our device in China. We made it in California. And when you put software on a SkyBell, and if you were to make it in China, you send it across the ocean. It takes 4 weeks by the time it leaves China to get to you. Let's say that there's a bug in that firmware and it doesn't work. Well, you have to send it back to the factory in order to update it again. Or if there's a defect, you have to send all of these back to China, so 4 more weeks.
So there's 2 months in just finding one problem.
But then they got to fix it, send it back to you. So now we're talking 3 months. Like when you are a startup, 3 months is an eternity.
Yeah.
So you don't have that kind of time. So that's another thing to be concerned about in China. But yeah, I mean, the other thing too is there's stories of Chinese factories that will hold your product hostage. Pay us the difference now, or we're not going to keep moving forward. And it's tough. So you obviously don't want to blame the whole for the problems of a few, but it's there. You got to be real. And I'll give you an example. There's another friend from USC, another entrepreneur, has a tea business, and she is American, blonde, tall, and she speaks fluent Chinese and reads fluent Chinese. And she was telling me that they went to a factory, and she said that I need clean tea, like no chemicals and no problems. And they're like, yeah, okay, and they're like, this gal's not going to know anything. So they sent her tea, and it has contaminants in it. And they didn't know that her stepfather has a nutraceuticals business and has all the testing lab equipment, and like half of it had mercury. And so it's a problem. Like they think that they can get away with stuff. They will.
So you basically just have to like make sure you control all aspects of it, and that you assume that they're going to try to screw you out of certain things.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got to go in with a realistic perspective. But ways to make it work is you got to hire somebody, and they got to stay in their factory full time.
Okay.
You can't just fly over there, have the meeting, the launch party, go to dinner with them.
You got to have somebody on site to manage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the ground.
Quality control.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you like China? What was that like, man? Well, so I know you're going to Thailand in a couple weeks, and I'll be over there in about a month. Like what? I've never been to mainland China. I've been to Hong Kong, but like what was that like living in China?
Living in China was a trip, man. It was good. So I was 22 when I lived in Shanghai, and one of the great things about going to USC, we're obnoxious, right? Trojans are obnoxious alumni, but one of the great things about us is we're everywhere, and the network is huge. So when I landed, I was at a USC event, like probably within 36 hours, and instantly plugged into a nice network there. So for me, it was fun to like experience China with the comfort of having a known sort of network, but also being able to explore new space. But my favorite thing about China is that you had to reset. The words do not look the same. The language is difficult. Ordering food becomes a challenge. Telling the landlord that the water doesn't work becomes a challenge, right? So you have to like relearn how to live life. And for me, it was a creative reset, and just something in my brain kind of clicked, and to sort of start from nothing again was very refreshing, and sort of again like figure out how are you going to communicate with this person when you don't know Chinese yet, what item you want to eat, or what food item you're going to eat. And
did you learn how to speak Chinese?
I did. After a little while, I learned some conversational level Chinese.
Okay. And how long were you over there?
For a year.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah. So stuff like that. And then like when you travel, you understand that the world is probably smaller than you ever thought it was.
Yeah.
In the sense of what you can do within it. But then you also get the sense that the world is bigger than you thought. Like the world of possibilities is huge, right?
Yep.
And I think that perspective was so important for me at 22. I'd already traveled a ton. I mean, my recommendation for people out of school, what should I do? I graduated, is go live abroad.
Yeah.
And don't live in the UK for 6 months. Like, go learn something new. Go to a new place where you have to learn a new language, and be there for a little while.
Yeah.
Go see the world through a different lens and bring that perspective back. And I think it serves you well. And at 22, you can get away with doing that so easily.
Yeah, I mean, you can
so
live cheap,
easily.
you can make money online. Like, I think that's great advice. Like, I think a lot of people just rush from high school into college and then college into their career, and they take no time to actually learn and like experience what's out there. But you're right, man. I mean, there's so much, when it comes to culture, I mean, we're all so similar, but we're also so different. And I think it's good to get out of our bubble and experience what else is out there.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what you've done. You can just look around your place and you see the Paris or the Eiffel Tower, the Taj Mahal, like the perspective you get to bring in for the rest of your life, like not just with your business, but how you get to live the rest of your life. I think it's incredible. And there's no other way to get that than to travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew, what does true wealth mean to you?
True wealth?
True wealth.
I think true wealth, and what a great question. I think true wealth, is when you feel the abundance that comes with a sense of clarity around your purpose, right? So when you feel like you are getting up every day and you are living how you want on your terms and not living for other people and not being beholden to the expectations that either your parents or society or you have put on yourself. When you can live and feel like you have the creative ability to do anything, I feel like that is what true wealth is. I think the monetary value and outcomes of living like that will come, and that's what we usually equate, success with. But I feel wealthy. I feel abundant in the moments where I feel like I'm living how I want to live, when I'm true to my path, true to my purpose. I live in my truth. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Any final advice or tips for anybody looking to get started in this space?
I mean, it kind of goes back to what we talked about. Do some research.
Yeah.
Follow good people. Read. So, interestingly enough, probably the 9 months before I became the founder of SkyBell, or co-founder of SkyBell, I knew I wanted to be a founder, and I stopped actually going out a lot. And instead of going to the bars with my buddies for the 100th time, I stayed and I read books.
Yeah.
I read books on everything that some smart person recommended. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People 13 times because my brother recommended it and said that Warren Buffett read it 15 times. So I'm like, if Warren Buffett read it 15 times, I better at least hit 15.
Yeah. That's a good one.
How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Hard Things About Hard Things, Ben Horowitz.
Yeah.
The Power of Habit, understanding how our habit loops dictate our how we do things, right? And how we can change. If you understand how your brain forms a habit, you can change it. That was important. Gosh, I mean, we could be here all day with the books.
Yeah.
But you got to read books.
Nice. I love it. I'm a big fan of reading, and I mean, you have the smartest people in the world that like curate and put their best knowledge in pretty little packages. It's just, it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Josh Ellman is another one. So Josh Ellman is a partner at Greylock, but he did product for Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. And I don't know if anybody who can break down like product development, product management better than Josh Ellman.
Nice.
I
haven't read
Twitter
that
handle, but
yeah.
Anything he writes is great. He writes a lot on Medium. I've had the
Okay.
pleasure of meeting him once. He's just a terribly smart man and just gets it. So
Nice.
I would follow him. Yeah, find the people that are in the space doing it, and do your research and feel it. Like, feel yourself with an idea. When we started SkyBell, you could like feel the power of it. It breathed, and you want to serve that idea, and let it breathe and let it become something, and do your research and go for it.
Well said, man.
I mean, there's 5 ideas. I'm sure you have a ton of them too, of the things you didn't do.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen. Explore it, and maybe it doesn't work out, but all the effort you did to flesh out your next idea, your first idea, will help you flesh out the next one. Maybe it's that third one that hits.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I love it. Do you keep like an idea journal? Or are you always like coming up with ideas, or do you kind of just focus on what you're doing now?
You know what? I do keep a journal. It goes back to those 9 months before SkyBell is when all the magic happened. Everyone will probably look at SkyBell and say, this is the thing, but it's all the things I did before it that allowed SkyBell to be possible, at least for me in my life. And what I had to do is you want to start changing the way that your mind looks and thinks all the time. Like, I'm sure at this point you can just see things all the time because you've been training your brain to find solutions, find trends. Like, you could train your brain to find problems, and all you'll see is problems.
Yeah.
You can train your brain to find ideas and possibilities, and you'll start finding ideas and possibilities.
Yeah.
So you start pattern mapping, and you start saying, like, here's this trend I've seen here, but now I'm seeing it in another area. Like I told you, I'm advising a startup in the three-sided marketplace, which is very different than SkyBell. But I see what we did with SkyBell is we made a platform. You look at Uber. Uber's a platform, right? I like this idea of platforms. So I've made one for a video doorbell, so any company can pop our video doorbell on their platform. I want to do that in other areas now.
Yeah.
So your mind starts thinking, like, where are other underserved areas where this platform concept works?
Beautiful.
So yeah, you write through it and do blog posts and keep your ideas going. But I think it's more the mindset of just getting your brain to start pattern mapping and thinking in terms of ideas and possibilities.
Yeah. So James Altucher has this thing where he writes down 10 ideas every day. Doesn't matter about what, just exercising that muscle, the idea muscle, right? And like a lot of people like to complain about things that don't work. And that's oftentimes where the biggest opportunity is, right? Like, so
Yes.
I like to think every day, what could be done better or cheaper, faster, more convenient, right? And that's, I think if you can get in the habit, like just one of those ideas, that's all you need, man. It's just one good one to hit, right?
That's right. That's right.
Nice. Well, Andrew, thanks for being here, man. How can people reach out to you?
People can reach me by Twitter is a good one. So I'm at AP Thomas. AP is in Paul, Thomas. So at AP Thomas. SkyBell is at my SkyBell.
Okay. Nice. We'll link that up. And what is it, skybell.com?
Yeah, SkyBell's at skybell.com. And, we're on sale. We got the HD going. It's $200.
Nice.
It's on sale on our website, but we'll be in, the retail spaces now. But if anybody has questions, by all means, tweet at me. I'm happy to help the community and to give back if I can be helpful. I'd love any opportunity to take it.
Appreciate it, man. That's really generous of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for having me.
Panel, man. That's going to be exciting.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
It's going to
awesome.
be good.
Thanks, bud.
Appreciate it.